going on YouTube? In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how I added these rear lights on the back of my Yukon for all you guys and girls that wanted to check that out. So if you're interested in learning how I wire these up, make sure you stay tuned and let's get to it. As you saw earlier, I do currently have them hooked up to my parking lights as well as my brake light. But in today's video, like I said, I'll show you guys a in-depth wiring of how to do it if you want to learn how to do it. And if you're new to the channel, let me know down below in the comments. Also, as I shoot this video for you guys, I'll be adding a reverse light function as a bonus to the light. So let me show you guys all the parts that are needed if you wanted to do something like this as well. Alright, so to start off with, you will need some rear Escalade vent caps from like 2002 to 06, I believe. As you see, I do have some extra ones right here. They do have the opening that the factory Tahoe and Yukon ones don't have, and then on the top it just uses 2 bolts, which are 7mm. Also in the back right here, you can tell that this panel right here will have like 4 clips, and some of them might be broken like this one is right here, but they should still go on, and you can also use double-sided tape if needed. As far as wiring and materials goes, we'll need some 1A diodes. As you can see right here is a multi-pack. And then I also got a pack of resistors, and these resistors are 100 ohm resistors. And you'll be needing 2 relays, which are SPDT or single pole double throw relays. They're just 30-40 amp, and you can see how they look right here from the bottom. They'll have like the 5-pin terminal, and you'll need some electrical tape for connections. The relays that I purchased came with these harnesses right here just to make it easier on the install, or like if you have to upgrade or change the relay, you know, it makes it more simple. And right here on the right side, I do have these outdoor plug connectors. I'll be using them to wire them up to the pillars. That way, like if any of the LEDs get damaged or anything like that, I can remove it without having to cut the wires and redo all the work, you know. So that's what they look like right there. That's a pair, one for the left and one for the right. And for power wiring, you'll just need like some 18 gauge or 22 gauge wiring is fine. And some outdoor tape if you want to tape up some of the wiring up. And then butt connectors, I don't like using, so I won't be using those, but you can use them if you want. And you will need some solder because we do have to solder the wiring into the LEDs since it's all custom. Here on the right side, I do have a optional braided sleeve for the wiring just to keep it clean. And it makes it look more professional. That way your wires are not all tangled up, but like I said, it's all optional right here. Alright guys, so the last part you'll need, of course, is going to be the LED strips. And as you can see, I do have some right here. These are RGBW, but the ones that I'll be using for the video today are going to be RGB because that's what's already installed in the Yukon, and I'm just going to modify them for the video because they're still good and nothing's wrong with them. And here on the right side, you can see this is an RGB strip as well. But if you notice, I mean, this one is black and the one on the left side is white. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever noticed that when you buy LED strips, sometimes when they're brand new, they'll be like clear and they'll look good, but after time with the sun, they'll change color into like a yellowish color. Like this one right here is white, and if you see the one on the right side, it looks a little bit more yellowish even though the strip is a different color. But the ones that I'm using right now for my Yukon, I've had them for years and these strips don't change color. So that's what I'll be keeping on right here. If you notice, they still look clear or white, which is, you know, what you want, because I don't like how they look whenever they start turning like yellowish. But these specific strips that I'm using on my Yukon right here, I don't have any links for them from any website or anything like that, because we get them from a supplier down here at the shop. If you guys want to actually use the same specific strips that I'm using on my truck, then you can go ahead and message me on my Instagram and I'll see what I can do. Most likely I should be able to get some and, you know, send them out to you, either pre-cut or the whole new roll. As of right now, with COVID and everything, they're around like, I believe it was like $70, give or take. But like I said, you can message me on there and we can figure out something if you really want to use the same strips. And these right here, like I said, they won't yellow, so they'll stay the same color and they actually are really bright. So other than that, I'll go ahead and list all the items that I'm using down below in the description if you want to check that out. Alright, with all that being said, let's get to the fun part. Yeah! Alright guys, so I went ahead and removed my pillars from the rear. As you can see, they're off right now. And on the bottom, you'll notice that I have a 2-pin connector right now. It's just, you know, regular 2-pin because I was only using like 2 wires for the signal. But I'll be upgrading it this time to the outdoor connector. And also, mine look a little bit different because I did add Dynamat here in the rear. since I have the subs and needs to flap a lot of air. So as you can see right here, I did go ahead and run 2 LED strips on each of the pillars. That way I could get the max brightness. And they're just right on that wall from the Escalade vent cover. They go all the way to the top, and then it curves with the wiring coming down. That way I get full coverage. As you can see, the LED kind of sticks out a little bit from the top. But that's the only way that I can get, you know, full light and no wires showing. Also, to keep the wiring from moving around in the pillar, I did just use some hot glue, and it worked out pretty good. As you see, they haven't moved, so I'll probably redo that on the new wiring as well. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the tail lights, and also if you notice, mine's are LED, they're aftermarket, and I'll link them in the description if you wanted to check them out as well. But that's them right there. And the wiring is pretty simple, it's not that hard. You can try using a multimeter whenever you want to test out for positive and negative on the wire harnesses. But in most cases, the dark wires like these right here will be grounds. And the ones that we're going to be using more like the colored wires like these two right here, which are going to be the positive signals. And then on the reverse, the lighter color as well. Because like I said, most of the grounds are going to be black, but that's what we're going to be dealing with right there. I did go ahead and find a good mounting spot for my relay right in here. And I just went ahead and used a tapping screw. As you can see right there, it looks pretty good and it gets tucked in out of the way. Also for ground, I'm gonna be using the same tapping screw that I used to mount the relay. So once I have my relay wiring and my ground, I'll go ahead and run them straight down to the main harness of the truck. As you can see right here, I started some of the wiring. And if you still have your stock tail lights, your wiring will look different than mine's, but don't worry about that because all the wiring will be similar. It's just different color. We'll just need 3 wires out of the stock wiring harness: the parking wire, your brake wire, and then your reverse wire. And as you can see right here, I did go ahead and start on some of them. And your wire colors may be different than mine since mine's are aftermarket like I said. But as long as you're not using the dark colors or grounds, you should be good. As you can see right here, my reverse light has red for positive, but the white is a ground. So just make sure you test them out. If it gets a bit confusing, then you can just go directly to your tail lights next to the bulbs, and it'll be a little bit easier to notice, you know, what they are. It's really not that bad if you get to look a little bit closer by your tail light. I'll go ahead and show you on mine's. On the bottom, you can just go directly and you can see where it'll have like a 3-pin, which is one of the harnesses that we'll use. And then also you'll be looking for your 2-pin reverse light wire, and those are the ones that we're going to be using right there. So the 3-pin will have a ground, and then it'll have a parking wire, and then it'll have the brake wire. So those two, we're gonna need the brake and parking. And then from your reverse light, you're only gonna be using the positive side, which is gonna be like a red color, or you know, maybe another color, but not the black. For ground, we'll be using the tapping screw on the relay right up in here. That way, like, it doesn't overload the factory wiring because it will pull more power. So it's better to ground it separate, and also the LEDs as well. Once you have all your wiring that you'll need, then you can just loom up everything else, you know, like clean it up. That way they don't get in the way. And you'll have a set of wires like this just coming out of the top, ready to go for the relay. And I use Tessa tape to clean mine up right there. I'll go ahead and show you on the other side right in here. Essentially, both of the sides will look the same because they'll be wired exactly the same, just in 2 separate pieces for left and right. And like I said, we'll go ahead and use that wire right here for the relay. And if you notice on the relay, they do come with 5 pins. It's a single pole double throw, so it has 5 wires, but we're only going to be using 4 of the wires. The middle red wire we're not going to be using, so you can go ahead and pull that off and de-pin it. Here you can see I went ahead and just pulled off that red wire, so it's all empty in the middle, no pin, because like I said, we're not going to be using that, so just remove that right there. After that, you will have to cut one of the wires that we ran from the bottom, and that's going to be the reverse light wire. So here you can see I went ahead and cut these 2 wires because I actually had ran a ground. My blue was a ground wire, but I'm not going to be using it, so I'm going to remove that right there. And then my reverse light wire was a white, so I went ahead and cut that in half, and that's the one that I'm going to be using. One side to the harness and one side to the relay right over here. I'll go ahead and put a picture right now on the screen and show you exactly what pins and what's going to be wired up on the relay. So if you're not familiar with relays, they do have to get connected in a specific way so that they can work properly. So in our relay, we're going to be using the terminal 30 and 85 as ground. So our blue and black wire will be grounded together at the body with the tapping screw that we're gonna be mounting the relay with. What that's gonna do is gonna give ground to the relay for turn on, and also it's gonna give us a negative reverse output for our LEDs to be hooked up. Because if you remember, the reverse light that we grabbed was a positive signal, and that's also gonna go into the relay. But now that you have your ground, that reverse positive signal will have the relay come on. But since we're grounding number 30, that's gonna pass over to the output side. So now you'll get a negative output as well. Now that you have the blue and black wire grounded, which is 30 and 85, we're gonna go ahead and go with pin 86, which is gonna be the input side of the relay. So right there, we're gonna hook up our reverse positive signal coming out of the tail light. So whatever color wire you ran from the positive reverse signal is gonna go into the white wire on the relay, which is pin 86. And that's gonna trigger in the relay to turn on. And once you tap that wire in there, you're also gonna have to put another wire out. So it's like a wire's gonna come in and one wire's gonna come out. And the wires that are coming out of the relay are gonna go to the 5-pin harness that you're gonna have to quick disconnect your LED pillar. Now that we're done with the relay wiring, we'll be left over with a set of 5 wires, and those 5 wires will be a little bit long, just like this, but they can be cut a little bit, or you can leave them as is, and they'll be hooked up to the 5-pin outdoor connector. So that way, this will be the car side, and then the other side will be the LED side. So whenever you need a service or anything like that, you just quick disconnect it and you'll have no problems with it. Whenever you connect your 5 wires, just remember the color codes you're using, so that way whenever you hook up the other side to your LED, they'll be in the correct order. So you should have a positive parking wire, a positive brake wire, and a positive reverse wire, as well as a negative reverse wire and your regular ground wire, which was at the self-tapping screw at the body. Once you have all your connections done, you should be left over with a 5-pin harness that's pretty long, just like this. You can tell that it has the 5 pins inside, but this will be like the car side, and that way you can disconnect your light or remove it if you have to. So I left it a little bit long, but you don't have to have it super long. I just like to have a little bit more slack in case I need to work on it. Whenever you run your wiring, there's a lot of space through this back wall. You can just go straight down and then come right under and follow the stock wiring harness. That way, they're not gonna get caught up. Here you can see where I soldered some of the wires on my relay, and also how I put a ring terminal on it so I can ground it. Like I said, we're gonna be grounding it like this, just with the actual tapping screw to the body. But whenever you do this, make sure you do scrape off the paint, because you wanna get a good ground, since it's gonna power up all the LEDs, and should be good to go right there. Your relay wiring should look exactly like this. The yellow wire will be the output wire going up, and that'll be the negative wire going up to the 5-pin. And then your blue and black will be grounded with that ring terminal. And then your positive reverse light wire will be the white wire. But remember, you will have to add another wire to it, like I did right here. I soldered it and I ran it up. And remember to tape up all your connections if you soldered them, or whatever, either crimps or tape. But like I said, I like soldering, so that's why I did that. Once I tape up this last wire, I'll also be taping up the relay with outdoor Tesa tape. That way it'll protect it from water and anything else, to make it last longer and have no issues. Here I went ahead and finished up the driver's side, and as you can tell, you don't really see no wires because I am following the stock wiring. Because you don't want all that wiring sticking out, getting in the way of the tail light, and also the barn door or hinge whenever you open your door. But if you follow it, you'll see that it's got a clear path straight through the back and up to the relay. And then you can also see where we're gonna be grounding it right there. And it should give you no problems. All the wiring gets tucked up into the back. And all you'll have left over is gonna be on top the 5-pin connector, which is gonna be connected to the 5-pin connector on the LED that we're gonna wire up right now. This way you'll have no issues putting back your tail light or your pillar, and that way we can just keep it clean and simple, because I don't like getting tangled up. I'm not sure about you, but let me know what you guys think so far down below in the comments, if you like this or not. And now that we're done wiring up the truck side, we can go ahead and start on the LEDs, and that should be it. It should be like a plug and play once we're said and done. So let's go. Alright, so here's the lights that I removed out of my old pillars. As you can see, they are used and they got damaged whenever I pulled them off. If you notice right in here, some of the pins came off with the solder. So I'll be having to reuse the other ends. If you follow them at the back of them, they're still good. So I'm gonna just cut these open and resolder the tips, so that way they'll be fresh and ready to go. But the size of them is gonna be 19.5 inches. So let me wire them up real quick. Here you can see I already have my LED wired up, and whenever you do yours, it should look exactly like this. You wire it up and then you can cover up the ends with heat shrink or tape, and then just make sure you're soldering into the right position. So 12 volt will be the positive sign, and then the colors will be like green, blue, and red, and they'll have those letters abbreviated right there. The only 12 volt wire is going to be this one right here, the white one in my case, and then red is going to be a ground, and then blue and green are going to be soldered together, and those are also going to receive a ground, because that's the only way that these LEDs turn on, with ground signals. And that's pretty much it right there. But I'll go ahead and show you right now how to test them out, just to make sure you're doing it correctly. And just how we have it wired up right now, we're able to test out and make sure that they're wired correctly by putting it on a 12 volt battery. It'll light up red and white at the same time. So let's check that out. All right, so if we put the 12 volt into the positive side of the battery and then the red wire into the negative, it should turn red. And whenever you touch blue to the negative, it'll turn white. And that way you know that it's functioning properly, and we should be good to go on the resistors and diodes for the next step. On the 12 volt side of the strip, we're gonna solder the 3 diodes with the stripe facing towards the LED. If you notice it has like a very small line, and that's the side that you're gonna join all 3 and solder them onto the LED. On one of the resistor legs, you'll solder the 100 ohm resistor, and that's for your 12 volt parking light wire. So you'll solder it at the end of the resistor. On the next diode, you'll wire up your brake 12 volt wire and your 12 volt reverse wire. So that's those 3. And then the red wire is just ground, and blue and green are gonna be the negative reverse trigger. And that's the 5 wires that we're gonna be wiring into the 5-pin connector that connects to the one we already did in the truck. Just remember to wire them up to the colors that you had on the truck. So whatever colors you use, make sure you follow them. And you can either wire them directly like this, or you can extend it out with some more wire like I will. I did go ahead and finish up one of the LED strips, so let me show you right here. As you can tell, it's already loomed up and closed in. I also did add some heat shrink at the ends of them. The diodes and resistors do land right in the middle, so just be careful in that area. And as you can see, I did go ahead and cover it all up with the braided sleeve. I think it makes it look a little bit better and also easier on the install whenever you get to glue it down on the pillar. And also your wiring doesn't have to be super long, but in my case, I left it a little bit long. Before you glue it on the pillar, make sure you test it out. So let's check it out. So you can test it out, by pressing on the brake, it'll light up red. And then when you put it in reverse, it'll go all white. And then when you put it in like regular park, it should just be like a dimmer red. It's not gonna be too dim, but it's gonna be a little bit dimmer than the brake light. As you can see right there, it's brighter when it's brake, and then the reverse will override everything into white. And then once you put it back in park, it'll be red again. So that means if it's doing that, you're good to go, and you can go ahead and tape them down on your pillar and you're good. All right, so here you can see I went ahead and finished up taping down my LED strips all the way from the bottom to the top. They're full coverage, and the strips are very close together so that it looks better. And the same on the passenger side and driver side. And right at the bottom, I have my 5-pin connectors for a plug and play, since we already did the harness at the car. And I did go ahead and use a little bit of hot glue to hold the wire in place, since I don't want it to move too much. And on the strips, whenever you get to tape them down with the double-sided tape, just make sure you clean the area with alcohol or something, just to keep it clean and make sure it's gonna grab and not fall off. And now that we have all the wiring secured and the strips installed, we can go ahead and try them out. So let's go. And if you like this content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any other ideas, also drop them down below in the comments. I think the lights came out really good, and I also like the added function of that reverse light, because now whenever I back up, it looks very bright. But you let me know what you think down below in the comments, if you're gonna be trying this in your truck. And here I'll let you guys check out a little bit more better angles on the pillars and the lights themselves. But that'll be it for this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. We're gone. Damn it, Bobby, now we're gonna have to find the Escalade vent and pop them on the Chevy.
Back against the wall, I'm still getting. Yeah.